Hello, I'm Dr. Albert Bimper, Executive Dean of the College of Liberal Arts and Social Sciences here at UNT. And today, I'm joined by Dr. Lisa Henry, Professor of Anthropology and Divisional Dean of our Social Sciences, and one of our college's leading voices on basic needs and food insecurity. As we approach the Thanksgiving and holiday season, it's a time centered on food, family, and gratitude. It's important for us to take this moment that we acknowledge a very difficult truth. For many of our UNT students, consistent access to food and other essential resources is not a given. Lisa, thank you for being here. First question I have for you is to kind of help us do some level setting and kind of ground us in this conversation around food insecurity. So what does food insecurity look like here at UNT, and maybe give us a broader definition?
Yeah, of course. So food insecurity at UNT, we estimate that between 30 to 42% of UNT students are experiencing food insecurity at some point during college.
Wow.
And this is well above the national average for all populations, which is around 10.5%. So it's a very serious and pressing issue for UNT students. They're juggling jobs, going to school, they're juggling families, some of them are juggling childcare. And food insecurity, this could mean anything from students who are truly hungry, they're going to class hungry, they're going to bed hungry, they're sleeping through their hunger in order to make it to the next day, they're stretching meals, they're skipping meals, but it also means students who are perhaps getting enough calories, but they're very nutritionally poor calories, right? So cheap foods are highly processed, high in fats, high in sugar, high in simple carbohydrates, and they don't give the body what it needs to perform its best. And so those students are experiencing food insecurity in the same ways. And all of this, we know that food insecurity impacts academic success. And so that's what we're really concerned about here, is how it impacts their physical health, their mental health, and ultimately how they perform in school and finish.
You take me down kind of towards the next question I want to ask, but those numbers are very staggering, and they really make a very compelling argument for us to take a moment in this holiday season to really pause and maybe understand what's underlying as a need in our communities that are kind of those near and dear to us, our students. Tell me a little bit more about this kind of during the holiday season, the human impact of food insecurity for our students.
Right, so we all know that the holidays are a time for families and friends to gather and to cultivate a sense of belonging, particularly around food, right? So food becomes an essential part of those gatherings. And for food insecure students, not all of them, actually the majority of them were not food insecure growing up. And so this is a new experience for them. And so going home for the holidays or gathering with family and friends can actually be very stressful for them. There's a tremendous amount of anxiety around food. It contributes to a significant amount of loss of self-esteem, kind of understanding that they're not able to pull all their resources and kind of be successful in being able to support themselves. And interestingly, they have a hard time reaching out to their families for help, because they also understand that their families are struggling. And so it sort of has this double impact of, I'm struggling, my family's struggling, and there's a real significant loss of self-esteem.
It kind of speaks to the kind of compounding impact in effect that it has on their lives. I'm curious to kind of put this in context of some of the challenges and pressures that we are feeling across the nation, maybe in particular here in higher education. There's been certainly a significant drawback of resources, and particularly in terms of funding at the federal level, and this is steadily been happening over a significant period of time, but it's also very kind of pointed in this moment right now, this drawback of resources. So, how has that drawback of funding made this issue even harder to address in this particular moment?
Yeah, absolutely. So federal cuts have created real gaps, particularly in services that are provided for students. And so that puts added pressure onto local resources, campus resources for students, like food pantries and other emergency services. And so research is even more important then, because we need to know how to maximize those resources. We need to understand student challenges. We need to understand students' barriers that they have to accessing those resources. And depending on who they are and where they come from, they have additional barriers. We need to understand students' coping strategies, like how do they get by, and what are some of the solutions that we can create at UNT to help our students at UNT. And ultimately, again, this all leads to their academic success and them finishing their degree.
Right. The idea of kind of identifying the new resources now takes a lot of thought, and but it takes a kind of a community effort. So in light of the federal and other drawbacks of funding that maybe we've been reliant on for a period of time, speak to me a little bit about private philanthropy and how do we ensure a future for your impactful research to continue, but for us to really better understand and make some significant impact in this area of food insecurity.
Yeah, absolutely. So when there are cuts to federal funds, that reduces research, right? And so we are going to be more and more dependent on philanthropy and local gifts and individual gifts in order to build research dollars. And what we need is more research dollars. We need to be able to fund student research, faculty research. We know the impacts of well-funded research, right? We can put money into the hands of researchers so that they can generate those innovative ideas, right? They can build partnerships. They can come up with solutions in partnership with the organizations that are offering the services. And so that's why philanthropy is so meaningful and so important in order to drive this research.
I would imagine philanthropy is also going to be important for us to kind of put out work that we're doing and help to fuel some of the work that we're doing that allows us to also go to foundations and so forth, where there might be kind of new opportunities for us to seek some of that funding. But to go to them, there's still kind of this research that needs to be supported externally, and that's where philanthropic dollars can come in and help to kind of lay some groundwork for work that we would put in front of foundations that are also out there and raising their hands in these moments to say, how can we help?
Yes.
For our alumni and friends watching, certainly you've made a case for philanthropic dollars to be of great support on a very important topic. We now have a momentum circle. Tell us a little bit more about what giving to the momentum circle could do.
Yeah, absolutely. So philanthropy gives us the freedom to act quickly and intentionally. It allows the college to support emerging ideas, to respond to students' needs in real time, and to build solutions for the long term. And so when someone joins the Momentum Circle, they're not just supporting research, they're investing in the well-being of our students. Their participation truly makes an impact.
That's well said. So again, now in this Thanksgiving season, maybe you kind of leave us with the final thought of what would you want to leave with our supporters that would, consider giving to the Momentum Circle? What would you want them to know? Yeah,
I would say this. I would say that behind every UNT degree is a student who has fought hard to be there. And food insecurity should not be the barrier that holds them back. And so together we can ensure that students feel supported, they feel supported academically, emotionally, nutritionally.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Well, no, I appreciate this. This has been a great conversation, and I hope to have more of this going forward. So thank you. To everyone watching, this is why the Dean's Momentum Circle matters. It gives us the capacity to act, to innovate, and to support the students who need us most. Your participation helps us move research into action, dignity into practice, and hope into real outcomes. So now is the time to invest in ideas that move class forward. From all of us here, we want to say thank you, and we wish you a meaningful and very thoughtful and loving Thanksgiving season. Go Mean Green.